Hello and salve! It is a hazy sort of day, and I'm in a large park in the centre of Milan.
Where today we're asking the question, where is the oldest stadium in the world of football?
Well, there's a few different places that have claims to this title, including Sheffield United's Bramall Lane, Mansfield Town's Field Mill, and Wrexham's Racecourse Ground. But the official world's oldest football ground, according to the Guinness World Records, is Sandygate in Sheffield, home to non-league Hallam FC. That's the place where the first ever game of modern football was played back in 1860. Anyway, whichever way you look at it, I think we can all agree the answer is somewhere in Britain. Which means I now have a lot of explaining to do about why I'm in Milan. But here's the twist. What if there was a team who play in a stadium that is older than football itself? Welcome to the incredible Arena Civica. Right, while I try and find out how exactly we get inside the stadium, let me tell you a little bit more about the history behind this place, starting with the football history. The Arena Civica is the former home of both Inter and AC Milan. AC Milan were only here temporarily for a few years during the Second World War, but for Inter, this was their historic home before they moved into the San Siro. So, back in the 30s and 40s, thousands of fans would have packed out these stands watching players like legendary striker Giuseppe Meazza, who famously banged in the goals for both clubs in the days when they used to play here. But before either of the big Milan clubs played here, the first team to call this stadium their home was a long-forgotten club called Mediolanum, who were here for their entire short-lived existence between 1898 and 1904. And meanwhile, the stadium has also hosted international games. In fact, it was here that Italy played their first ever official match, a 6-2 win against France back in 1910. And in more recent years, the old stadium has been used for rugby, lower league football and various other stuff, right up until last year when history finally went full circle and Inter moved back in. Except this time, it's their women's team. And today they're kicking off their second season in their new/old home with a game against Sampdoria. Now, Inter have only had a professional women's team since 2018, but they've invested heavily in the last few years, and with top international players like Hungary's Henrietta Chisar and Germany's Lina Magul, they should have enough today to beat a Sampdoria side who barely escaped relegation last year. So that is the footballing history of the Arena Civica, right up to the modern day, which you're currently watching. But although the football history here only goes back as far as 1898, the stadium itself is a whole lot older. Admittedly, it's not quite as old as the ancient Roman arena that it clearly wants to be. It's neoclassical rather than actually classical, but it was built in 1807, and that's still more than half a century before the first game of modern football. In fact, anyone want to guess what it was built for? Well, weirdly, you were correct if you said Napoleon. Bonjour. So, what's he doing here? In 1807, Milan, along with a large part of Italy, is under the control of the French Empire. This is that bit of history where Napoleon's basically trying to take over most of Western Europe. And he's recently invaded what is now northern Italy, sliced a chunk out of it and put it in France, and then taken the rest of it and told them, okay, you are now the Republic of Italy, and I am your president. Actually, no, you are the Kingdom of Italy, and I am your king. I prefer this. What is that? You want to build a stadium in honor of the king? What a fantastic idea. So the arena was built, essentially, to hold celebratory events in honor of Napoleon. We're talking parades, horse races, firework displays, bit of everything really. But most popular of all were the mock naval battles. These were highly impressive productions, where they would deliberately flood the arena, throw in a few old boats, and have a bit of a dramatised ding-dong. In fact, a naval battle was the first event ever held here, on the grand opening day in 1807, and sitting in the VIP section that day, watching all the action, was none other than the new King of Italy himself. Now, you have to admit, there can't be too many other football stadiums out there today that can say they've been sat on by Napoleon's actual bottom. And for me, that's what makes this place special. Not specifically Napoleon's bottom. To be fair, that gets whipped a few years later and then handed back to him. What's special is that this is the same stadium he would have seen 217 years ago. Because even though some of the historic British grounds can trace their history back further than that, for example, Sandygate started as a cricket ground in 1804, and the racecourse ground technically began life as a racecourse in the 1700s. In those cases, we're not saying the modern day stadium dates back that far, we're really just talking about the ground that it's built on. But here at the Arena Civica, you are literally sitting in a stadium that has been here since 1807. The same physical stones and bricks that were once sat on by Monsieur Bonaparte and his belligerent backside. Some nice football from Inter there, by the way. So, with the match drawing towards a conclusion now, perhaps we should come to a conclusion too. Is this the world's oldest football ground? Well, no. We've been through this. The oldest football ground is Sandygate, and this has only been a football ground since 1898. So is it the world's oldest football stadium? Well, maybe. Depends if you count it as a football stadium. But is it the oldest stadium in football? I think it probably is. Anyway, this is getting very pedantic now, so why not let me know what you think in the comments? And at the end of the day, one thing's for sure, what an incredible place to spend a few hours watching a game of football. And if you'd like to watch a match at the Arena Civica, then all you need to do is rock up at the stadium on a match day and walk straight in. There is no need to buy a ticket, it is free entry for everyone. And if you need it, there's step-free access via the main building. To be clear though, I'm talking about the women's football. There might be other events here where you do need a ticket. Meanwhile, the stadium itself can be found in the Parco Sempione, which is the largest park in central Milan, and you can't really miss it. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.